Continuing with the topic of sexlessness and the aspects of it that are so dark, when hope is the leash and sexlessness becomes control. Sometimes they do not fully leave you, they just keep you starving enough to keep chasing them. And this is the kind of sexlessness that makes you feel crazy. They do not give you real intimacy, but they do not fully let you go either. A little kiss, a little cuddle, a vague promise, a maybe soon, a we'll work on it, a moment of warmth right when you're finally pulling away. And suddenly you're back in hope. This video is for you if sex, affection, or hope is being rationed in your relationship just enough to keep you attached, but never enough to actually repair what is broken. And watch until the end, because I'm going to show you the difference between genuine love desire and sexlessness being used as control. And I'm going to give you the boundary script to stop begging for crumbs. Hi, I am Dr. Tanji, the Sex Doctor, board certified clinical sexologist, and on this channel, I speak truth without sugarcoating it. If you want direct, honest, and useful answers to your sex and relationship challenges, I invite you to subscribe. Your subscription tells me that you appreciate my work, and it helps this channel grow and be discovered by more people who desperately need to hear this content without shame. So please do it right now. Find the subscribe button, click on it, like this video, and share it with someone who needs it. Now, let's talk about when sexlessness becomes control. Not wanting sex is not automatically control. Let me start here because this topic can easily be distorted. Nobody owes sex. Not your spouse, not your partner, not your boyfriend, not your girlfriend, not anyone. A person is allowed to say no. A person is allowed to have low desire, pain, trauma, depression, anxiety, sensory issues, religious shame, hormonal changes, erectile issues, body image struggles, medical problems, or simply not feel sexually available. Saying no is not automatically manipulation. Low libido is not automatically abuse. But there is a difference between I cannot be sexual right now, and I want to talk honestly about what is happening, and I will keep you sexually deprived, emotionally confused, and begging for answers while refusing every path towards repair. That difference matters. Consent protects the body, but consent should not be twisted into a shield for relational cruelty. And this is what control looks like in a sexless relationship. When sexlessness becomes control, the issue is not only that sex is absent, the issue is that clarity is absent. You ask, what is happening to us? But they avoid. You ask, is this medical, emotional, relational, or something else? They deflect. You ask, do you want to work on this? They say, stop pressuring me. You pull away to protect yourself. Then suddenly, they become affectionate. A kiss, a compliment, a little warmth, a vague promise. And now you are back in the cycle. Not enough intimacy to heal the relationship, not enough honesty to make a decision, but just enough hope to keep you waiting. That is how people remain trapped for years. Not because they're receiving love, but because they're receiving uncertainty. And the power is in the maybe. A clear no is painful, but a permanent maybe can be psychologically exhausting. Maybe next week, maybe after vacation, maybe when work comes down, maybe when the kids are older, maybe when you stop asking, maybe when you're nicer to me, maybe when you lose the weight, maybe when I feel better, maybe. And every maybe keeps you organizing your life around the future that never arrives. So here's the question. Are they asking for time because they're genuinely working on the issue? Or are they using time to avoid accountability? Because time with action can be healing. Time without action is just delay. And delay can become control. Hope can become the leash. This is the part many people do not want to admit. Hope can become the leash. If they can keep you hopeful enough, they do not have to repair. If they can keep you guessing, they do not have to answer. If they can calm you down with a few kind words, they do not have to change. If they can give you a little affection when you're about to detach, they can pull you back into the cycle. They flirt just enough. They touch you just enough. They say, I want you. They say, I know we need to work on it. They say, things will get better. And then you soften, you stay, but nothing changes. That is not repair. That is intermittent hope. And intermittent hope is powerful because your nervous system starts waiting for the next crumb. One good night keeps you alive for 3 months of loneliness. One kiss becomes evidence. One cuddle becomes your fantasy. One sexual comment becomes a promise. And if nothing follows, that's not repair. It was a reset. When sex becomes reward and punishment in healthy relationships, health is not a paycheck. It is not a prize. It is not a disciplinary tool. It is not a way to train your partner. But in controlled sexlessness, affection can become a reward and a punishment system. If you behave correctly, maybe you get warmth. If you ask too many questions, they withdraw. If you challenge them, they go cold. If you threaten to leave, they suddenly become loving. If you need reassurance, they call you needy. If you express sexual longing, they shame you. The unspoken message becomes, need me, but don't ask too much. Stay loyal, but accept the deprivation. Hope for me, but don't hold me accountable. Stay close, but not close enough to require anything from me. That is not low desire. That is power management. And over time, it can make you question your own sanity. And the difference between struggling and controlling is this. A struggling partner says, I know this hurts you. A controlling partner says, you're too needy. A struggling partner says, I don't know why my desire is gone, but I'm willing to find out. A controlling partner says, oh, stop bringing it up. A struggling partner says, I need time, and here is what I'm doing with that time. A controlling partner says, maybe later. It takes no action. A struggling partner may not be ready for sex, but they're willing to participate in clarity. A controlling partner uses the absence of sex, affection, or answers to keep emotional power in the relationship. The issue is not whether sex happens tonight. The issue is whether truth, care, and collaboration still exist. And this is a shame weapon. When sexlessness is being used as control, shame often becomes the weapon. They may say, all you care about is sex. You're disgusting. You're pressuring me. You're desperate. You should love me without sex. You're selfish. You're obsessed. Now listen carefully. Nobody should be pressured into sex, but naming pain is not pressure. Asking for a conversation is not coercion. Asking whether this relationship is now permanently sexless is not coercion. Asking for medical evaluation, therapy, or a timeline is not coercion. Setting a boundary around indefinite celibacy is not coercion. Do not let someone turn your legitimate need for intimacy into evidence that you're dirty, abusive, or defective. Wanting sex in a romantic relationship does not make you bad. Using sexlessness to keep someone begging and destabilized is the real problem. So stop begging for the thing being used to control you. This is the hard part. If the dynamic has become control, begging makes the control stronger. Every time you plead, audition, over-explain, cry, perform, chase, or try to earn affection, you confirm that they still hold the power. So you stop begging, not because sex does not matter anymore, but because your dignity matters too. You shift from, please want me, to, we need clarity about what relationship we're in. You shift from, what do I have to do for you to touch me, to, are you willing to participate in repair? You shift from when will we have sex to what is the plan and what is the timeline? You stop asking for crumbs and you start asking for truth. So require action, not reassurance. Reassurance is easy. I love you. I want you. I'm attracted to you. We'll work on it. You're my person. Those words may be true, but if there is no action, they do not solve anything. So say, I am no longer able to live on reassurance. I need action. Are you willing to take specific steps in the next 60 to 90 days? Then name the steps: medical evaluation, therapy, sex therapy, weekly intimacy conversations, a written relationship agreement, a conversation about whether this relationship is now non-sexual, a conversation about monogamy, a timeline for reassessment. If they refuse every path, then you have information, painful information, but information. So set a truth deadline, not a sex deadline. You do not set a deadline that says, have sex with me by this date. That is not okay. You set a truth deadline. You say, I am willing to spend the next 60 to 90 days working on this if we are both participating. But I am not willing to stay indefinitely in a sexless relationship with no plan, no answers, and no movement. That is not demanding sex. That is refusing indefinite limbo. At the end of this period, you assess, did they show up? Did they make the appointments? Did they talk honestly? Did they participate? Did they acknowledge your pain? Did anything change? Or did they simply keep you waiting again? The truth is in the follow through, my friend. And do not let them control the story. If you set a boundary, they may say, you're leaving because of sex. No, the fuller truth may be, I am leaving because there is no sex, no honesty, no repair, no clarity, and no willingness to participate. They may say, you're pressuring me. You say, I respect your right not to have sex. I also have the right to decide whether I can remain in a relationship without sex, repair, or clarity. They may say, so you're choosing sex over us? You say, I am choosing honesty over indefinite limbo. Do not let them reduce the story to, you left because of sex. You're addressing the entire pattern. And if they suddenly offer sex after the boundary, be careful. Sometimes after you set a boundary, the other person suddenly offers sex. But you need to ask, is this desire? Is this repair? Is this panic? Is this duty sex? Is this a way to reset the control cycle? One sexual encounter does not repair years of withholding, avoidance, resentment, punishment, or confusion. So you can say, I appreciate your willingness to reconnect, but I do not want sex because you have a panic response. I want us to repair the pattern. We still need the conversation, the plan, and the follow through. That protects both of you because duty sex will not heal this. Panic sex will not heal this. Temporary sex offered to silence the conversation will certainly not heal this. Only truth and sustained change can. And this is the clean boundary script. I am not asking you to have sex you do not want. I am asking for honesty, clarity, and participation. The pattern of no sex, no answers, no plan, and occasional hope with no follow through is hurting me. I cannot keep living in a relationship where intimacy is absent, repair is avoided, and I am kept waiting indefinitely. If you want to work on this, I am willing to commit to a 60 to 90 day repair process with specific actions. If you do not want to work on this, I need you to say that clearly so I can make decisions about my life. That is strong, that is fair, that is not coercive, and it gives them a path to repair. And it gives you a path out of the fog. And if you're using sexlessness as control, let me speak to you. If you're withholding sex, affection, answers, or hope as a way to punish your partner, keep them insecure, keep them from leaving, or make them beg, stop. You do not owe sex, but you do owe honesty. If you do not want sex, say that. If you do not want relationship, say that. If you're hurt, say that. If you're done, say that. If you need help, get it. But do not keep someone emotionally starving so you can feel powerful, safe, superior, or in control. That is not a boundary, that is harm. And this is the bottom line. Sex success becomes control when there is no clarity, no repair, no plan, no timeline, and no honest agreement, but just enough hope to keep the other person waiting. The way out of it is not begging. The way out is not cheating. The way out is not exploding. The way out is clarity. Name the pattern. Stop accepting crumbs. Ask for specific action. Set a timeline. Measure behavior. And if nothing changes, make decisions from reality, not hope. Because you're not required to spend the rest of your life auditioning for intimacy from someone who enjoys keeping you on edge. Now, let me ask you, have you ever felt like sex, affection, or hope was being rationed to control you? What kept you stuck? The promises, the occasional affection, the fear of leaving, or the hope that the old version of the relationship would come back? And what would help you break the cycle? A written boundary, a timeline, therapy, financial planning, or finally accepting the pattern? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I read them all, and I know this one is going to hit a lot of people. As usual, I wish you safe, healthy, and pleasurable sex of whatever kind you practice. We're not judging. See you next time.